Hey Worship Leader, welcome back to the channel. Today I have with me the HX STOMP and the HX1 together because I get requests all the time. And the latest one said this, I wanted to finally jump in and get the HX STOMP and the HX1. My idea was to take the HX STOMP with the MIDI out and run it into the HX1 and have it change effects as needed per program on the STOMP. Is this possible? I have friends who want this, so surely I'm not the only one. Could you make a video about it? Yes, I can. Let's do it. I'm gonna walk you step by step through this nice and slowly. Before I do, I'm gonna show you what we need. And before I show you what we need, let me just tell you the sponsor of this video is myself. Shameless plug. I just released something I'm very proud of, the Sunday Ready Pack for the HX STOMP. And then most recently, I updated the Sunday Ready Pack Base Edition. It's the base Sunday Ready Pack for the HX STOMP, HX Effects, the XL, the Helix, and even the Pod Go. So some of you are very familiar with my Expanse pack, which is like an ever-growing collection of presets. You just pay once. The Sunday Ready Pack is 10 presets ready to go. Unless you get the base one, it's 7 presets. They're basically all the same with different amps dialed in to suit whatever guitar you're playing. So you don't have to, you can make sounds immediately. So if you guys want to go check that out, help support this channel, helps me make helpful videos like this. All right, first thing we're gonna need to allow the HX STOMP to control the HX1 via MIDI is this. This here is a MIDI cable. Now, I'm gonna act like you know nothing. So if this is dumbed down too much for you, you'll just get a better understanding of it. But this is a 5-pin MIDI cable. This here is a TRS cable. Now, MIDI can also travel through TRS cables as well. A lot of people don't know that. But in this instance, we have in the HX STOMP, 5-pin MIDI out, in and out, and through. Same thing on the HX1. Okay, so we need a 5-pin MIDI. I really like these. These are Boss, I believe. Doesn't say Boss on it, but I'm pretty sure it is. And let me show you how this thing works. It comes straight out, but then it has this little thing that you can turn and line up to make it a right angle. Slips down there, then you can turn it to lock it in. It's pretty cool. I like these, but for today I'm just gonna leave them all straight. I'll try to put links to everything down below. So what we're going to do is take the 5-pin MIDI out of the HX STOMP. The out, right there. There it is. We're coming out the HX STOMP, and we're gonna go in to the HX1 right here. So we've come out of the HX STOMP into the HX1. We also need to plug these devices in. I have a power supply, Chalks DC7 right off the screen. Now to hook these up, we just need regular patch cables. These are TRS. You don't need that. There's no benefit other than the fact that they're colorful, and I thought maybe if you saw where the colors went, it might be helpful. But we just need regular patch cables, TS patch cables. So I'm gonna come out of the left and the right of the HX STOMP. You can see that right there. Out of the left and the right, going into the in left and right over here on the HX1. Not to confuse you, but I also thought we could hook up a non-MIDI 2-foot switch controller to maybe access foot switches 4 and 5 since we have the regular HX STOMP here. By the way, all this MIDI stuff will work whether you have the HX STOMP, the Helix, the HX Effects, I believe has MIDI, 5-pin MIDI out, and so does the XL. It is not the case for the Pod Go. I think Pod Go can receive MIDI over USB, but that's not what we're talking about today. Okay, so with this dual switch, I'm just going to hook it up and plug it into the expression or foot switch 4 and 5 on the back of the HX STOMP right there. And then our guitar in, I'm gonna use this new X wireless thing. I love these things. These are amazing. I'm just gonna go in right there in case I play guitar later, you can hear it. All right, the first thing we need to do is go into the global settings of each and make sure our settings are correct so that we are receiving and sending MIDI the way we want. So what we're going to do on the HX STOMP is hit this little hamburger menu, page left, page right. We're gonna page over once and go to global settings. First thing we need to do with MIDI is decide what channel it's on. This says MIDI bass channel right here. From the factory, usually all these things come on channel 1, just like the factory preset, and you can change that right here. I'm gonna leave this on 1 because it doesn't matter. We're only sending MIDI today. Over here, if we hold the effect knob down for 1 second, we get to this, like, this is our main menu, I think, and we can just scroll through and get to what we want. So I'm gonna scroll over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, and you can see MIDI channel, and it's on channel 1. Now, I can make this whatever I want. Usually you don't want 2 different devices on the same channel. So since this is MIDI channel 1, I'm gonna put this on MIDI channel 2. Hopefully I'll remember that later because we want this to talk to this. Remember, this one is on MIDI channel 2. Now they both have MIDI through. Yes, I want to send MIDI through. This one, I could turn that off because we're not sending anything, but if I had MIDI pedals down the line, I would want that on. As we come through here, we have RX MIDI clock, TX MIDI clock. So this is not prescription and Texas. This means receive and transmit. That's what RX and TX mean. RX is receive MIDI clock, transmit MIDI clock. Both of these are set to MIDI. You can turn it off or USB or both. I'm gonna set all these the same too. MIDI PC receive is on, auto receive is on. We'll just leave it on auto. I think we could leave it on as long as it's not off. And we'll push home, and I think that's all we need to do. I'm gonna push home right here. If I were to hold the flux switch down, I can switch between flux and tap over here. We can see that this is controlling, it's now sending tap tempo. When I press it slower, it gets slower. That's great, that's what we want. So in order for these devices to talk to each other, and today we're just going to have the HX Stomp talk to the HX1, we have to make sure that all the MIDI pathways are open and that we know what channels they are on. Channel 1, channel 2. Now we just have to decide what we want to do. Already we're sending tap tempo. That just kind of happens automatically as it's receiving MIDI clock. That is on, it's receiving MIDI clock. But what else would we want to do? Well, I came up with an idea to turn on swells with this knob right here, and I did it via command center inside the HX Stomp. If you don't know what command center is, it is basically the MIDI functions. It turns your HX Stomp into a MIDI controller. So these foot switches can now be MIDI controlled, which is why I set this up, because I want this to be able to turn on different things. So right now I have foot switch 4 and 5 turning on a delay right here, and this one is turning on a drive. If you want to do this, let me show you how to set that up real quick. Let's go back to the global settings, page left, page right. We'll scroll over, go to global settings. We're gonna go to preferences first and make sure that expression, foot switch tip, and the ring are set to foot switch 4 and 5. And that will allow us, this one controls the delay and this one controls the overdrive. Okay, back to what we are doing. Let's make this talk to this. So what I want to happen, let's say this is just on or off. I can reach it and I wanna push on and off, but I want this to remain tap tempo. I don't wanna hold it and have this be the flux. Flux is, if you don't know what flux is on the HX1, flux is taking, it's what I hope they bring to the HX Stomp next. On the HX Stomp, I can go to like my overdrive and set this foot switch, instead of turning it on and off, I could have the gain go from 5.2 to 10, boom, boom. But it would be immediate as soon as I hit the switch. Over here on the flux of the HX1, we can decide how long we want that transition to occur. And so what I wanna do is I want to hold this and let this be tap tempo. And I want this foot switch right here to control the flux, okay? So the first thing we need to do is look up some of the MIDI commands. You can look at the manual and I've figured out some things that I want to do. So I'm going to have this turn on and off the flux, just like it is here. You can see that it's turning on and off the flux. So I went to CC toggle, then I went to MIDI channel 2, because this device is number 2, and I gave it a CC message of 2, which mimics the flux over here. So I could turn this flux off, go back to tap tempo if I want to, and then I'm gonna leave this at 0 and this at 127, which is basically on and off MIDI language. We'll leave it on latching, and I could customize the foot switch if I want to, but I'm just gonna press home. So now our foot switch 1 controls the flux over here on the HX1. Turn it back off, it goes back off. But all that did was engage the flux, but we need to tell the flux to do something. So in order to do that, we have to hold, like, so right here I have it labeled swells. So I brought up my effect, the heliosphere, which I think is your biggest bang for your buck in the HX1 because it's a delay and reverb mixed all in one effect. I think that's awesome. So you can scroll through here and see that I want the time to be at a quarter. My feedback is up nice and high. Now this mix here, you probably can't see this. Get a little closer right there. There's these two little lines. If I were to hold this, they disappear. I'm gonna hold them again, and I get two little lines. I get a minimum and a maximum. Right now, I'm on the minimum, and I can control the mix. So when the flux is off, that mix is gonna be down as far as I want it. Let's put it on 27, because I was born on December 27th. Then we'll hit the flux again, and now we're controlling the top end of the flux, and I wanna set that at 50. If you don't know, mix on the delay and reverb in the HX world, 50% is as loud as your reverb and delay is gonna get. Anything over that is going to start taking away your dry tone. Now let's go through here, and I've already done the same thing for the reverb mix as well. So when it's down, I had set it at like 28. Let's put it back on 27, and then back up to 50. And then decay, I have it at like 6. And then at the top end, I have it at 9. I'll scroll to the next page. I put the headroom all the way up, I always do. Now the on time, how quickly do we want these mix and decay parameters to swoop from where we had the A to the B, the on and the off? You can set that to 2-3 seconds. You can make it happen almost instantly if you turn this all the way off. I'm gonna put it about 2.5 seconds, so 2.5. That's how quickly it will ramp on. And then I'm gonna go over here and I set it, I want it to come off a lot slower, so more like 4 seconds. That way it trails off. You can also adjust the curve of how they trail off. I'm just gonna leave that in the middle. I'll hold save, 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 boom. Now if I were to play the guitar and I hit swells over here, it should also, as long as this is on, take the heliosphere from a playable setting to a swell setting. Let's try it out. All right, so we're ready to play. Since this is now flux and this is set to tap tempo, I don't need tap tempo here. So let's go to the global settings again. We'll go over to foot switches and we will put the stomp at 3. This should be dry. The delay and reverb are off here. That delay is off. This is a preset that I just released in the Expanse pack. It's from my, it's called the HWL Play Clean. It's one of the clean presets. I dialed it in to sound good with my Revolta, but it's over there in the case. So right now I'm gonna play my Reverend. Super clean. Here's some reverb. Okay, so let's just turn on the HX1. There we go. We have some delay. That feedback's a little long. go. It works. Great. Now, what else would we want to do? Well, I can imagine that if you want to switch presets, then on the HX Stomp, maybe you'd want to automatically bring up new effects or presets over here on the HX1. The easiest way to do this, and this is not just for this video, but other videos, is to know that the HX Stomp, the Helix, they all send out PC messages based on whatever preset they're already on. So you may notice here, I'm on 000, that is the first preset, then it's gonna go up to 001. And what I've done is I put this heliosphere on 001 on the HX1. As soon as I scroll to preset 2, it's going to go to preset 2. Now, I don't have anything programmed in preset 2, but whatever's in there from the factory will come up. So we're going to scroll over and I'm going to preset up. Oh, why did that not work? All right, let me tell you, I just ran into a problem. I don't know why it is this way, but I tested this before I recorded the video and it worked flawlessly. The only thing I did differently is that I switched this to channel 2 and then it stopped working. I don't know, it might just be a glitch in the MIDI. So I put this back on channel 1. Now it's working. Now when I switch presets over here, actually this swell here, we also have to change back to MIDI 1. Now when I go over here and I say I want to switch presets, I want to preset up, now it changes presets. Okay, the overdrives sound horrible because they're coming after, it's coming after this HX Stomp, so they're not being fed into the amp. See if there's any other effects. Okay, HX1, preset 3. There's a comp. Ooh, an optical trim. HX1 on the 6th preset. I went ahead and put these in here, my first 6 presets. That's all I have. I didn't go any further than that. Just to pull the first 6 presets over here on the HX1. I could go through these presets and change them to what I want. I could copy that heliosphere on all 6 of them and just change settings because I would want something, a wet effect, because it's coming after the HX Stomp. You could do this with the Stomp and with the HX1 in front of the Stomp and run drives and compression and all that stuff as well. You just kind of got to decide what you want your HX1 to be. You could also run this through the effects loop. If you want to retain a stereo image, you just need to come out with a TRS over here on the send that splits into 2 TS on the other side to go in stereo and then back out stereo, back into the mono left and right. Dr. ZMAS preset with the crazy retro reel on it, and a long-tailed delay. All right, I hope that was helpful for you. If you want to know something else I can do a tutorial on, let me know down in the comments. I really appreciate it. Share it with people that you think would want to know this, that need to know it. It'll also help this video rank in the algorithm and all that fun stuff. Check out the free Tone Secrets Guide. I didn't even tell you I have a HX Stomp, Helix, and Pod Go Tone Secrets Guide. If you're very visual, you want a free guide to let you know how to get good tone by this weekend, go grab that. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.